Hey everybody, this is going to be a vlog about martial arts and decision making. So if you're looking for some nerd technical information in this vlog, you're not going to get it. This is about martial arts and decision making. You see what I mean? So it starts off with a little story. So a very good friend of mine, scratch that, somebody I knew for years. Somebody I knew for years, who I trained with for many years. We didn't hang out outside of class, but I trained with him for many, many years. And as you may or may not know about me, I did martial arts pretty consistently for about 30 years, give or take, depending. And lots of styles that are, combat oriented. Boxing for like 5, 6 years. I did some Muay Thai. Never did any ring fight, but Muay Thai training anyway. On the side, I did judo for a few years, freestyle wrestling, a whole bunch of other stuff. I've been in the ring many times, and I used to be a bouncer in a nightclub. Well, a couple of nightclubs. I did bouncing work for about 2 years, something like that. Anyway, so all that to say, yeah, I know a little bit about fighting. So one of my training partners used to go to a nightclub and on a regular basis. And one day, and this is when he's in his mid-30s, late 30s, a little older than me at the time. This goes back a few years. And he gets into a fight at a club that he went to often, and he got into a fight with a few guys. And he put one guy in the hospital and hurt the other couple of guys pretty badly. I forget the details. Bottom line is he took out some people, put one guy in the hospital, and so thus he got arrested. Now up in Canada, the laws are not nearly as harsh as they are in the States, but they are what they are. So he got into a bunch of trouble for getting into a fight using all his martial arts skills. And so I ran into him maybe 6 months or a year after the whole thing settled. This is a guy with no criminal background, no priors as far as I know. So he had to go to court, he had to get lawyers, he had to pay for the guy's hospital bills, he had to pay for legal costs. So it cost him a chunk of change. Now you gotta understand, in Canada, it's not like the US. Our legal system is not nearly as litigious. You can't sue people for everything they got. It's not that. It's very difficult compared to the US. That being said, it's a super expensive process, tons of time in a court, going to court and dealing with all the headaches associated with all this. He said to me, and this is a guy who had been training martial arts as long as me, and he said, it wasn't worth it, Steph. It wasn't worth me getting into the fight. And he said, you wouldn't do it again. You wouldn't do it again. And it goes back to an old rule I was taught when I was a kid, actually, when I was 14. If you see a situation brewing where there's a fight about to happen, you have to make a decision then and there whether you're willing to hurt this person really, really badly. And if you're not willing to hurt this person really, really badly, then just leave right away. Now, 99.9999% of the time, you shouldn't want to hurt anybody badly because, first of all, it could get you into deep trouble with the law. Second of all, it could get you killed because if you hurt somebody really badly, they may hold a grudge, or their family or friends might hold a grudge, and they'll come after you if they know who you are. And then you can get in trouble with the law, and it's a whole bunch of headaches. So unless your life is really in danger, unless it's like you have no option, I can tell you now, and I'm a guy who was a bouncer, and been in a lot of situations, I would strongly suggest to you that you just avoid fights. It's just not worth it. Even if you could take out 5 guys at the same time, but I know people who can. And even if you can do all this type of stuff, even if you're the baddest person around, besides the fact that you can be as bad as you can get, and it just takes somebody with a weapon that could take you out pretty easily, the criminal and the civil liability and the headaches involved with all this you're much, 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 much better off just to leave, just forget about it. You got to pick your battles, as they say. You got to pick your fights. So how does this relate to coding? Well, not much really. It doesn't relate to coding at all, except to say that when you are working on a project, sometimes you'd be tempted as a coder to try to optimize a chunk of code. This is so unrelated, but it's kind of related. But anyway, I used to do this. I can make this chunk of code and I can make the code run 5% better or 10% better. But at the end of the day, to get that extra 5-10% of efficiency, it's just not worth the effort. It's not worth the effort because CPUs are so fast, computers are getting faster every year. Chances are that this 5 or 10% increase is going to have much of an impact on your app's performance overall, or the perception of performance is nearly zero. So I wouldn't be bothering too much with that. So how does this relate back to getting to scraps, getting to fights and not fighting? It has to do with picking your battles. It has to do with considering the consequences. And I've talked about this, the risk and the reward of doing things. So to get into a fight, even if you're a bad ass mother, again, like I said, it's not worth it. You know, even in my age, I'm 45 now, I'm an old guy, and I'm not nearly as capable as I used to be, but I'm still pretty capable. But I don't care anymore. It's like at my age, a guy insults me, it's whatever, what do I care? If I get into a fight with him, and I beat him up, I could probably get arrested, I can get charged, it can cost me all kinds of money. It's just a headache. It's much easier just to go, whatever, just walk or leave. That's it. If they come at you and they're chasing you, then, you know, if you can, you do it. If you're not sure if you can hurt them, you can defend yourself rather, then you run. That's my advice. Same with coding. Don't waste your time on chunks of code that you may think you can optimize. Don't also waste your time in battles with other people around you. If you have a battle over, I don't know, it could be with clients over $50, or it could be with coworkers. All I'm suggesting to you is that calmness, as they say in French, la paix, calmness, be calm. Consider the risk and consider whether or not taking a particular action is actually worth taking. And sometimes it's better to bite your tongue and not get into a scrap with something, even if you think you're right, even if you know you're right. You gotta say, is it worth me doing anything here? Is it worth me getting involved? That's all I gotta say. Ciao, ciao. It's time for Album of the Day. There it is. Steely Dan, Can't Buy a Thrill. Now, if you saw my other brief mention of Steely Dan's Aja, which was a black album, which is much more of a jazzy album. Here's Steely Dan's Aja. This, I think, is their, in my opinion, their best album. It has the most hits on it, though. Hits that you've probably heard, or you may have heard the melodies in the past. And it really is a great album. And this, I believe, is a vinyl pressing. Yeah, made in Japan. I don't know if you can see it or not. So that means the quality of this is typically, not always better, but typically better than North American pressings, for instance. Although UK pressings are very good as well. So this is a great album from the 70s. It has some huge hits on here. Reeling in the Years, the biggest hit. Next thing you're gonna hear, I'm sure you've heard, Do It Again, Dirty Work, great stuff. Only a Fool Would Say That, another great song. Midnight Cruiser, great album, jazzy, but a little less jazzy, a little bit more poppy than the previous Steely Dan album I mentioned. Highly recommend, especially if you're into high quality sound like well recorded music, well recorded by the artist. Steely Dan does a very consistent job in that regard. I don't know if you can get this in high def digital yet. I don't think you can, So if you want the best quality, you would have to get the vinyl. Listen to the album on YouTube. I'm sure you can find it there. Yeah, Steely Dan, Can't Buy a Thrill. Several hits on there. I'm sure you will enjoy it very much. That's it for now.